Microsoft has once again plagued Windows with another mind-blowing bug. And this has to be one of the dumbest issues I've come across, and I literally talk about Windows bugs all the time. It almost got me yesterday, and fully got me a few weeks ago, turning my office into a sauna by the time I had awakened from my slumber. I'm of course talking about the infamous bug where you shut down your PC and everything works as usual. But then it just restarts and turns back on and stays on for some reason, completely draining your laptop battery or essentially acting as a heater for your desktop computer. This has been an ongoing issue for a few years on Windows 10 and 11, but apparently it has started affecting way more people recently. One of those people is also me, which really makes that Penguin OS look more and more attractive. Let me know if you have the issue or not. Welcome back to yet another Windows video, and as with pretty much every other Windows video, it's about another bug that Microsoft has introduced. The difference this time is that this is actually an old bug that has started spreading more and more very recently, which a lot of Windows users have complained about on Reddit, and this is actually a bug that started happening to me about 2 months ago. And I think I'm just gonna have to crown this bug the dumbest bug in existence of all Windows bugs, because it's just so stupid and it just makes no sense from a programming point of view. I mean, how is the Windows core even designed that this is even able to happen? Because I've used other OSs over the years. I've used Mac OS, I've used various flavors of Linux, I've used various versions of Android, I've used iOS, and nothing like this would ever happen on any other OS but Windows. So I just have to give it the crown as the dumbest bug because it's just so unreal. Like, how do you even manage to do this? Never mind how you manage to cause this issue, but if you have this issue, how do you fix this issue? Well, your first option would be to just wait for more Windows updates and just hope it fixes on its own. Or you can of course try reinstalling Windows or just go down the troubleshooting route, which from my experience of troubleshooting Windows, it's either going to take you a very short amount of time or you are going to be very frustrated for about 2 weeks and then you're going to contact Microsoft support. They're just going to tell you to reinstall Windows and nothing else. Then you're going to work on your version of Windows a bit more. You're going to fix it, but then a few months later, it's going to start messing up again. At least that's my experience. And of course, there's the good old, you can just switch to Linux, which unfortunately is just not possible for most people, I'd say. Maybe not possible is too strong of a wording, but just like very, very inconvenient. And this is something I try to convey anytime I'm talking to someone who actually uses Linux. And of course, they're bragging about, oh, you still use Windows My Linux OS, it's so much better in so many ways. Hold up, just stay here. Let me tell you all the ways Linux is better. Which, by the way, if you're one of those Linux users, you're really doing much more damage than good, because at this point, pretty much everyone knows that Linux is just way better. They're basically just picking on people like, hey, yeah, my dad could beat up your dad because my dad is a professional fighter and your dad is an accountant. Basically, most people are taken hostage by Windows because the apps that they want to use or need to use are only available on Windows. So for instance, for an application like Photoshop, I always get the response, oh, but there's alternatives. There's GIMP. You can just use GIMP. Which, in my opinion, is just such an arrogant view, because you can't just use whichever app, even though any app would be able to do what you need it to do. Most of the time, you just need to use what is the industry standard. If not for yourself, you have to use it purely so that you can actually work in a group, so you can actually work on each other's files, or else you're basically just alienating yourself from group work, which is most work. Not to mention, in these industry standard apps like Photoshop, you have a lot of software, you have a lot of third-party plugins that legitimately make your workflow so much better, so much faster, and those plugins are probably just not going to be available on applications that have 1,000th of a user base. Plus, if you develop skills in software that is the industry standard, those skills are worth a lot more in the industry than if you had skills for some other application that businesses don't use, for example. As many people have said over the years, the best free alternative to Photoshop is a pirated version of Photoshop. Not to mention, you actually do need to be somewhat of an enthusiast to even consider switching, because to some degree, you are going to need to relearn how to do various things in this new environment. And the thing is, most people are already not enthusiastic about the learning phase. They want to get the learning phase done as fast as possible and just work on things. So switching is really just not that easy. Even though it might be overall very easy, people just don't want to deal with relearning a few things. So you can use cars for an example. For instance, you have people that take really good care of their car. They fix things themselves. They change the oil themselves. They polish their cars all the time. They take excellent care of their cars. And then you have people that just don't really care. They just want their vehicle to function so it can just do things, and they just don't really care about anything else. And when a headlight goes out, they're just going to go to the mechanic because they just do not want to deal with, even though it would make more sense to replace it themselves, because it would take you a few minutes to get a replacement bulb on Amazon, and then it would take you about 5 minutes to just install the new bulb into your vehicle. So it's a very short and simple process, but a lot of people don't want to deal with it at all. So to sort of close off my standpoint on Linux, I think Linux is going to take over the day where emulation of Windows applications is just so easy and so seamless that everything that runs on Windows just runs on Linux as well, maybe 1% worse or whatever. But then people can legitimately just switch over and just not care because they don't want to care. Anyways, let me know what you think, and hopefully you have a nice day.